Mhm. Hello, guys. Welcome back to Affirmations. I would like to thank my subscribers and any new subscribers that I've gotten since I've been away. I want to thank you all for the condolences due to my mother passing away this March. And actually, today is actually a month since she's been gone now. So it's amazing how that time has has gone by. So thank you for your patience. So I'm kind of slowly getting back into things, uh, and just asking you all just to kind of be patient with me. I'm slowly kind of getting my rhythm. And today I'm kind of doing something a little different, just trying to get back into the swing of things. I am wishing everyone mental, spiritual, emotional, and physical health. Yes, and I'm hoping everyone had a great week. And again, if it did not go well, we're asking. Let's see if the Palo Santos. Okay, it doesn't want to smoke for y'all. It's not wanting to cooperate. If it wasn't a good week, we're hoping that you can figure out one thing you can do this week that can make things go better or a little smoother, okay? And definitely when there are times of great transition, we want to, there's your smoke, we want to allow ourselves to kind of slow things down so we can kind of have time to reflect and process kind of how we feel. Let's see, kind of what are we going to do today? Been a lot of things going on politically. I know today I think was one of the marches that they had planned, a global type march that wanted to kind of address a lot of things that was going on in the administration. And I've been seeing a lot on TikTok, a lot of the blacks kind of opting out and realizing that they showed up to vote and that this is not our battle. And so a lot of blacks are starting to understand that, we've been kind of marching and fighting and pleading for years um, since we've been here trying to right wrongs. But one of the things, I always talk about how there's always for every negative, there's a positive. And one of the positives that I've seen with this, even though we don't like it, for example, the Civil Rights Act, what has happened is since that has been attacked, it's become very obvious, and we're starting to understand that a lot of these particular things that have been put in place have been symbolic. However, we as a people did not benefit most from a lot of the things that we created, that we marched for. Other groups benefited more. And also, two other groups never gave us the credit for all the work that we did. But I do think people are starting to kind of wake up a bit. And one of the things we've talked about is when we're trying to heal as a people, it being important that we don't seek others' validation. And I think we're finally at that point to where we're not trying to seek validation, where we are trying to focus on ourselves now. So again, for every negative, there's a positive. I am going to put two videos in the comment section. One of them is Story Time for the Children of the Slaves, where I kind of read this kind of storybook. We do that segment to kind of tap into our inner child, because again, a lot of our innocence was taken away, not only with the children in slavery, but throughout the generations, because we've had to teach our children to be both that of child and adult, because our children being judged more harshly. So in that, I talk a little bit about at the end about segregation. And when you do a comparison about our communities that were beautiful, that was forcefully ripped apart, and a lot of planning went into destroying a lot of these kind of black tight knit, beautiful communities that were self sufficient. And so I think I have another video so maybe a couple of videos in the comment section for you to kind of look at. And this was kind of commentary that I did before the election, where we were kind of questioning some things, looking at this kind of concept of segregation. And so now that that's a topic now, a lot of blacks are even starting to say, okay, now we understand. Go ahead. We understand who we don't need to support, right? Because again, they talk about the black dollar and how the black dollar is basically responsibility for a lot of the economy. So we're starting to recognize our power, not putting energy into things that are not for us, and just kind of focusing on ourselves as a group. So this is, again, for every negative, there's a positive. Okay. So, again, I'm hoping everybody's been doing well, staying safe. And let's see, how do we want to do this today? Let's see, I haven't done this in a while. One of the things when I first started off with the channel, I used to kind of randomly pull stones and talk about them a little bit. And let's see what we get today. Let's see what we get today. Let's see. What we get? We got blessings. Blessings. I don't know if it's a glare. Can y'all see that? Blessings. Interesting. Blessings. Again, when I connect this to our people, we were very spiritual people. And again, over the years, a lot of us have kind of gone our different ways spiritually, but we always were very aware of our blessings, even during times when times were hard. And I think when I think about blessings, we were very blessed back then when we had to depend on each other, when we understood very clearly what was going on, who was for us, who was against us, right? So again, it sounds scary, and it probably was scary, but it's something to be said when you're very clear about that it's just you and your people, and you have to depend on each other as well as where you're not wanted. So what has happened over time with the subtleties, and again, certain symbolic types of wins that we felt like was kind of pushing us forward. But when you really do the research and you look at Black wealth from back then, all the way from once we were freed from slavery until now, the wealth gap pretty much is the same. And so we're starting to really kind of think about kind of the blessings that came with us as a tight-knit group. Again, one of the things that happens is a lot of groups, again, have benefited from the Civil Rights Act, again, are allowed a lot of types of stipends and help and loans and different things in order to start businesses. They're allowed to have their communities. And so again, if one group is allowed, we always do our if then, if one group is allowed to have their communities, right? Their own banks, their own education, their own schools, their own things like we had, then we also have a right to that. However, throughout history, ours was destroyed. But again, I think this particular administration is helping us to realize how blessed we were when we were kind of operating as a group, when it was very clear on where we weren't wanted, where it made it very easy for us to understand how to operate. Okay. So these are interesting times that we are living in, And so I do feel like, again, we're becoming a little bit more wiser and no longer in denial. Yeah, so I think before this, we wasn't very clear on what was going on. People would say, well, you have the Civil Rights Act, right? You have these things. However, now that the masks have been kind of pulled back, we really get to see that we are not as affected because, again, we've always had to be self-sufficient. Things have really never gone our way. We've never been allowed favor, so to say. So we've always been operating like this. So even though it is hard, we are used to, again, our people were great people of resilience, right? So again, so for every negative, there's a positive because you have oppression. But if you have generations of oppression, guess what? It makes you experts at survival, right? During hard times. So, that's something. So definitely blessings, And it's also important, especially when times are hard, because, again, it's different for everybody. So always count your blessings. What is it that you're thankful for, even when times are hard, right? It could always be worse. And we always talk about, thank goodness that we never got the slave shift. What is the slave shift? I have a video on that too, where we did not get that particular part of our oppression, where we actually had to endure slavery. Our ancestors did that for us, right? And so sometimes when we feel like we don't have the energy, or sometimes we're doubtful, we have to think about where did we come from and how strong our people were to get us to this point. We've survived it all. So certainly we can continue to kind of move forward. Okay. Okay. So let's see. So I'm looking at two of the decks. One is called Inner Child. One is called The Soul's Journey. So what we'll do the Soul's Journey today. Okay, Soul's Journey. And we'll see what card we get. Let's see. It's interesting. Doubt is on the bottom. I don't know if some of you all are feeling in doubt. You know, sometimes when we're in the times that we're living in, and a lot of the things that we're seeing politically, it can put us in doubt. Right? Let's see. Okay. So let's just see. Let's see what we're going to get. There's one. It's called Health. Okay. We got health. It says, I will honor the physical vessel that enshrines my soul. Health. Of course, I'm coughing, right? Had to drink me some tea earlier. Health. Yeah, how many of us are struggling with our health? Let's see what this is saying. It's saying, I will honor the physical vessel that enshrines my soul. It says your body is your temple, right? And you are responsible for its care. And sometimes it's very difficult for us to view our bodies as a temple, especially if we've been violated throughout the generations, been violated, been put down to where a lot of times our self-esteem has been affected. So we sometimes will abuse our temple. It says you have chosen, this is again a lot of different spiritual concepts. It's saying you have been chosen to incarnate in this physical dimension. Again, you apply what your belief is. Again, I say the Most High has chosen us to be in this physical dimension to learn certain lessons. If you don't maintain the physical vehicle that your soul has chosen, then you are sabotaging your own plan. Right? The physical vehicle. I like the way they refer to that. Yeah. Are we honoring our physical vehicle, or are we sabotaging ourselves? Because your physical health, we know we talk about, oh, I want to be wealthy, I want to have this, I want to have beauty. But if you don't have health, and you're not able to have all your physical abilities, then you're pretty much shut down. It says your health is a vital element for your soul's progress, and you should never take it for granted. How many of us are taking it for granted? Sometimes when we're stressed about life, sometimes we have to remind ourselves, and I do this, I'm like, oh, I got to do this, I got to lift this, oh, I need to go do this. Being thankful that we have the physical ability to be self-sufficient, that our body still will allow us to do things for ourselves. It says be sensible about nourishment and exercise. I know I need to look at that myself, right? Nourishment and exercise. It says this could be a sensitive being who must be conscious of your surroundings, because you can easily be drained by people, places, or things. This is interesting. So not only do we have to talk about health in the sense of emotional and mental health, right? We have to be aware of what we're surrounding ourselves with. So even let's take the stress that's going on politically. And again, I'm seeing a lot on TikTok where a lot of our people are saying, you know what, we're going to conserve our energy. We're not going to expose ourselves and beat our heads up against a wall, going out protesting. When, like they said, they showed up to vote. Now it's other people's turn because they're in shock of kind of what they voted for and how everything's turning against other groups. And so one of the things I think a lot of times our people were starting to realize, don't drain your energy, right? Focus on your group, focus on yourself, right? It says always pray for protection, okay? So that's something depending on, what your beliefs are. Or we need to be aware of protecting ourselves, sometimes joining groups, joining things. A lot of people were saying, oh, you want us to come out and protest because, again, if we're on the front lines, they attack us. So we're becoming more wise, right? Okay. It says also this card may signify a desire to assist other people through physical or emotional healing work. So how many of us are healers out there, right? And even if we're technically not, a lot of times some of us in the family are the designated healers, right? People come to us when they're emotionally wounded, physically ill. It says you may be involved in a profession or maybe in the medical field, right? Let's see. Or sometimes just being a good listener. It says if you or someone you know, let's see. Yeah, it talks about also too being aware of your kind of family history, health as well. So we understand even from slavery, certain health diets that we had contributed to a lot of our illnesses today, but also to some things strategically being done to kind of black areas and black neighborhoods. Again, our beautiful neighborhoods destroyed, or kind of there's videos about how they created ghettos, and again, limiting the amount of food or the quality of food that we have access to. But a lot of us nowadays have more power over that. But a lot of this stuff has been kind of pre-programmed, right, throughout the generations, right? So health. Yeah, so I think the way we'll connect that to this topic when we're talking about the political climate, being aware of your surroundings, being aware of your emotional and mental health, also being aware of how long or how much you should look at with the kind of political news and information that's out there, because again, you have to take breaks from that as well. Okay. All right. And so, with that, guys, I really appreciate you joining me. Again, thank you for my subscribers. Any new subscribers that I have, like, share, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you know when I post. And I forgot to say our saying for those of you that are new: life and death is in the power of the tongue, and they that love it shall eat the fruit thereof. Have you been feeding yourself fresh or rotten fruit? I'm hoping that it's fresh and never rotten. We want to mind the self-talk that we do with ourselves, as well as what we speak, as well as what we speak about others. We want to make sure we're not lying on others or being malicious. It's okay to vent, but we want to be aware of that, because sometimes they can activate reap what you sow. Do check out the description box. It has information about counseling services if you're looking for a therapist, information about how to contact me for services. Also be aware of those who are fraudulent, who sometimes may disguise themselves as me reaching out to you. I will never reach out to you. My information to contact me is in the description box, okay? And with that, we want to end with our saying, everyone has a right to heal from trauma, even a race, nation, group. And until next time.